Hi, it's Russ from Pro Tools Expert, and I have at last got my hands on the Apollo audio interface from Universal Audio. And now it's caused a lot of excitement. It was launched at NAMM this year, announced there, and it's started shipping, and there's been a lot of interest in it. And there's a lot of great articles about in places like Sound on Sound, some great in-depth take-it-apart articles about the hardware and the software that you can read about with some fantastic tests. You know that this isn't what we do at Pro Tools Expert. What we do is we give you a show and tell and a practitioner's guide. So what I'd say is if you need the kind of the scientific stuff, then go and check out some of those great reviews that are on the web, and also places like Sound on Sound magazine, who do that so well. But what we do is we look at stuff on a practitioner level, and we say, hey, is this useful for our recording environment? What makes this so exciting and useful for many of us is it allowing us to track into our DAW, in this case, most of us are Pro Tools users, and enables us to keep the effects in line. Now, it enables us to record with the effects, and it also enables us to not record with the effects and then mix with the effects later. So it's giving you all those kind of options. It enables you to use effects on monitors as well without tracking them, and it's zero latency. And so I'm going to show you that in action today and show you the normal problems you'd have if you were trying to track with effects in a DAW. So what it's kind of doing is what Universal Audio is so well known for. It's trying to kind of give you that hardware experience once again. And obviously when you track normally through hardware before it hits the DAW, then of course there is no latency involved because the hardware doesn't introduce it. The only reason we have latency normally is the effects themselves are taking some of the load from the computer, and the time it takes to process that stuff, that audio through the computer chain, gives you our latency. And now what they've cleverly done at Universal Audio is they've put inside the actual box itself the UAD card. So it could be a UAD Duo or a UAD Quad card, and then you can use that within and use the power of the box, the Apollo box, instead of the power of your computer while you are tracking. And that is very useful. So right now I'm talking to you, as you can see, through channel 2. I've got a guitar, an acoustic guitar, just DI'd for now, into channel 1 of the UAD, and then into channel 2 I've got my microphone, and as you can see it's coming in, and I've added to that straight away a 1176, and I've also added in a 4K channel strip as well. Now, it doesn't ship with every effect that you can get from UAD. It ships with some compressors, a channel, the time cube, and so there's some stuff it comes with, but not everything you will see me using today. So make sure you check the spec. Don't go and buy it and then say to me, well, Russ, I didn't get my Lexicon reverb with it, because you won't get your Lexicon reverb from factory. But I know they do fantastic deals. They often do money off vouchers when you buy their products, so you can often get a great deal to buy some of the other effects that you want. So what I have coming in here right now, I have my acoustic coming through a 1176, an E-Series channel strip, and then I also have in line a Lexicon reverb. But also, what's really cool is instead of having it in line, I've also got it here in a auxiliary. You can see it's on my voice there. So let me just turn that off for a second. But it's also on my guitar. And we can push that up a bit higher. And often when you're tracking, you want a bit of reverb on, don't you? But you don't always want it on the track when you've actually got it down. And the problem in the past is a DAW hasn't been powerful enough to allow you to track with reverb without introducing latency. Or secondly, you don't want it on. And the great thing about the console application, this is the console software application that kind of runs the whole show. And it allows you to do all the things you want to do. So for example, I could put the Lexicon on my voice as an insert and record it here, or I could put it down dry, or I could just use it for monitoring and still record my channel strips and my compressors without recording the reverb, or I could record the reverb on a separate track. So the flexibility is there. So looking over this, you control the whole of the hardware from this. I love this. So I can just turn my monitoring up and down there. I can save all of that kind of stuff. I've got all my controls for my hardware here, and that's another thing. I can't stand reaching around a studio to get stuff done. So the great thing about this is you could have your Apollo in a different room and still control it from here, as long as you had an audio patch bay. So it's really nice that you can come in and you can just up the gain on your mics and stuff straight from this application. You put high pass filtering if you want. Put one in there on my guitar. Do our phantom power, pad it down, all kinds of stuff like that. We can link channels as well and record them in stereo. And then, as I say, you've got auxiliary sends, and you can pan those left and right. You can have headphone sends as well. So so if I was plugged into this, I can do 2 different headphone sends. So I could have, let's say, my drummer could have one send, and then my vocalist could have a second send while I'm tracking and stuff like that, or my bass player. So it's really, really flexible. And so I'm going to show you it in action. Nice thing as well is if you're not using all of the channel strip, you can just pull it all right out and just make it as big as you want it. So let's just put that out of the way for a second. So the next cool thing as well is normally what would happen, I'm going to show you it now, in Pro Tools, if you didn't have low latency monitoring on, you get that effect, as you can hear. So I've got delay now, so I've got the original signal, and I've got the signal coming via the latent computer processing. Now, normally, the minute I hit switch low latency on, I lose my effects, because you can't use effects in low latency mode in Pro Tools. And the only way you could normally do this is you'd have to have a HD system, or you'd have to track, go into your playback engine, you'd have to track down at something like 32 samples. Now, the chance of you using high quality processing down at 32 samples without it falling over is highly unlikely. So there's always been trade-off. There's always been trade-off when you're trying to track. So as you can see now, I've got a hardware buffer of 1024. So I've got Pro Tools at full buffer size, and yet I've got 0 latency. I've also got, as I say, I'm going to put some reverb on my voice again because it could always do with it. So there's my voice. There it goes. Let's track something now. It's just a silly idea I came up with this morning, and I can just track it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to track it first with the processing on. Then I could track it without the processing, just like that. But you can still hear it. You're just not tracking it, which is really nice, that option. And then I'm going to track it with the reverb on the guitar as well. So you've got all those options. So let's give that a go. So it gives it a second just to drop that across. Just pull that back again. And let's go for it. Let's just do some recording. And in fact, what I'm going to do is just bring up the console again, and we can pull this down here a bit so we can see it. We'll put it in record on Pro Tools. I still love you, I still want you, I don't need you anymore, 'cause I'm tired of the cheating and the lying anymore. So we've tracked that now, so let's have a listen back to that now. Back a bit, here we go. I still love you, I still want you, I don't need you anymore. So what we could do instead now is we could add in the reverb, so we could take it from there. We could either route it in, or we could actually put it across the channels. So I'm going to put a 224 across these two channels. Ooh, there we go. Take it out of solo mode and pull it back a bit. I still love you, I don't need you. Let's just take the dry down a bit. Let's take it that way. 1, 2, 2, 2. And there we go. I like that bit of pre-delay. So what I can do now, let's just take it off these channels as well. We could mute it there. So this could now be recorded on if we wanted to, but I'm going to turn it off the vocal because it sounds a bit odd. But leave it there on the guitar. If I like the reverb on both channels, there's a really cool thing you can do. You can come here, click out to it, just here on the drop-down menu here, and I can go copy Lexicon 224. Then I can paste it in. So options, paste 224. So that's now the same reverb as it is there. So that's quite a cool feature as well. And there's all sorts of cool features within the Universal application that means you can do that. So now I'm going to record with some reverb on my voice, but not track it. There it is. But I'm going to track the guitar reverb this time. I hope it's still making sense to you. I'm just showing you all the kind of options, because some people think you can't record the effects, or you can't not record the effects, but you can do anything. I still love you, I still want you, I don't need you anymore. Oh, the lying and the cheating, I don't need you anymore. So if you listen back now there, if you listen to the guitar at the end, we've got it recorded, and here we haven't. Anymore. So we have all the options. Now, I think that's pretty cool. Let me just turn that reverb off again, because it sounds slightly odd when I'm talking. So it's an excellent piece of hardware for use with Pro Tools. Now, two versions, depending on what you want to use. You can use it, as I say, as a duo or a quad. Now, the cool thing is as well then, you can also use the effects when you're mixing. So you have all the options available. So you've basically got an interface with loads of inputs and outputs on it. And you've also then got a UAD card. And it's Firewire, and this is running in Firewire at the moment, not Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt option is coming soon, and the Windows option is coming soon, I understand as well from our interview recently with Lev Perry. So it gives you all sorts of cool options. Now, you know what? For many of us, buying a full HDX system is just out of our reach. And at the same time, we're really stressed by the inability to be able to track without latency and track effects and stuff, because often we want to put compressors in our voices before we track. It's a common part of recording, and as you can hear at the moment, I've got a compressor on my voice here which is keeping the dynamic range of my voice from going out of control. So we want those kind of things in our chains, and we want to record with them, or we want the option not to record with them. And so Apollo is a well thought out, with the console application, a really well thought out product. And I've been excited to get my hands on it. And I think one of the problems when you hear so much hype about something is that often when you get your hands on it, it never is quite what you hoped it would be. Well, I'm glad to say that for me as a Pro Tools user, that it is everything I expected it and more. It does far more than I thought it would do in terms of the ability to be flexible with the way you record. It gives you every option that I could think of. It gives you the option to record with the inserts, record without the inserts, and also to have things like reverb on your monitors, but not record with those. And then it gives you the options to add them all back in later. I can save this whole console if I want down here, and I can save it from another song I was using with earlier. I can save all those mixes and all those setups, so I don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. That's another problem that drives me crazy sometimes with my DAW, is I have to keep reinventing the wheel with the inserts and the outputs and all the buses and stuff like that. So it's the console application is the sort of heart of this whole product. And you know what? It's so well thought out. It's been thought out by people who are musicians who know what they need. And I think it's fantastic. As I say, I'm just putting a guitar and a vocal through for now. Of course, you could put an entire band through and track the band. You've got 4 microphone inputs, but you could buy a separate mic input, like a Focusrite, and then you could light pipe it back in through the light pipe. And you've got light pipes in the back, so you can add extra channels. So you have more balanced microphone inputs if you needed to. So for live, for tracking bands, for singer-songwriters, this is an absolutely fantastic product. It's gone beyond my expectations on so many levels. The hardware itself is incredibly well built. It's very quiet. There's no fans running away that I can hear. It's about a foot away from me right now. And if you can hear any whirring, that'll be my Mac Pro, which is right below my mic. So it's a great product. The only decision you need to make really is whether you want a duo or a quad. So there it is in action. That's the Apollo and the console application on Pro Tools. It's if you're looking for a fantastic interface for a Pro Tools rig, then I highly recommend you consider the Apollo. And you know, of course, what's coming. It does get my Editor's Choice Award. It gets my Editor's Choice Award because really, I'm going to have to do some serious bolting of the doors and change my phone number because this is a demo unit. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't want it to go back. And so I'm either going to have to go and load up my credit card or just commit a crime. But I don't think I'll be doing that. So there we go. And I think, what more recommendation can you get? This is a demo unit, but I think I'm going to buy it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.